and not working to his full potential that leads to errors and
employee engagement, job satisfaction, and providing work-life balance to them. A healthy workplace also enhances organization's reputation, which helps them to attract more diverse and talented employees. It also helps in increasing the revenue for the company by reducing the staff absence and its associated costs, by improving working conditions and employee morale. Nowadays, we are seeing various initiatives have been taken up by the management. Now, companies have taken various putting mental health and well-being on their main agenda. Mental health awareness should be increased. We should train our top leaders and managers to have more empathetic approach so that an employee feels free to reach out to them to get more valuable and friendly advice. We should conduct a seminar where top leaders can share their own struggle with mental health and how they overcame it. It will be very inspiring for an employee who is facing the similar situation. Managers should also help their colleague effectively. And if they can't help them directly, they should show them the right path and point them towards someone who might help them. Research has shown that authentic leadership cultivates trust, which enhances employee performance and productivity. We should work to create an open and conducive environment where an employee feels safe to express themselves freely. Routine counseling and employee check-in on a regular basis should be conducted. Mental health campaigns like Let's Talk, Mental Health Champion should be encouraged at each workplaces. Government are also taking various initiatives to improve mental health at workplaces. They have set up 24/7 helpline to provide psychosocial support by mental health experts. They have implemented national mental health program across the country. Is this enough? The answer is no. All these are just a small step to take a giant leap in a direction of improving mental health at a workplace. To sum it all up, let us understand. Mental health is not just about the absence of mental illness. It includes emotional, social, and psychological well-being. Mental health and physical health goes hand in hand, and any change in one can affect others significantly. A positive mental health enhances resilience and problem-solving attitude, which enable us to have more clearer and balanced perspective while facing challenges. Mental health profoundly impacts your performance, productivity, and effectiveness in work, personal pursuit, and relationships. And by investing in a workplace, by improving mental health, we will be creating a positive environment which will help employee and employer exponentially. At last, we would like to express our gratitude for letting us present this extremely critical topic in front of our esteemed industry experts. So now let's open the floor for our experts to enlighten us all with their valuable insights. Thank you.
Taking the conclave further, kindly allow me to introduce to you the keynote speaker for our session, Mr. Dham Lakshit. Mr. Dham Lakshit is the Senior General Manager, HR and Lead Employees Relations at Hero MotoCorp. With an impressive academic background from various prestigious institutions like Xavier's Institute of Social Service, Wharton School of Business, and Ericsson Coaching International, Mr. Lakshit is a pioneer in talent management and development, organization design and structure, HR strategy and culture, and risk mitigation and governance. Mr. Lakshit has been a driving force in stemming positive change and innovation in HR practices, making significant contributions to renowned companies like Aditya Birla, Tata Steel, Coca-Cola, and Cadbury. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion with your esteemed presence. Now, I would like to welcome on stage Professor Vartika Datta Ma'am, Faculty Anchor of RITWI, the HR pillar of our Indian Institute of Management, Amritsar, to felicitate the keynote speaker. Sir and ma'am, onto the stage, please. Thank you, sir and ma'am. Now, I take it as my privilege to invite our distinguished speaker for the keynote address. Sir, the stage is all yours.
So very good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
You have taken your lunch?
Yes, sir.
You can look like.
Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Better voice. I want to hear from the last benches. Very good afternoon to everyone. Not the Yeah, that was the voice. So thank you, IIM Amritsar, for inviting me here. Thank you, the organizers of Yukti. You have developed a very wonderful property for the industry academia intersections. And thank you, my other distinguished guests and faculty. So, thank you, Mudit, and thank you, Vinay, for setting up the talk. Interestingly, you find it okay. You discuss about the mental wellness. I want to just extrapolate it like total well-being time. Because mental wellness is just only a part of the entire agenda. So just see this thing, what's happening. Very interesting kind of things. This is the picture of the Yellow Crystal Park. Have anybody heard about the Yellow Crystal Park?
Yes, sir.
Where it is situated? So it is situated in the US. And it is a space in around 9,000 square kilometers. What happened? So people start realizing that the park is losing its flora and fauna. Why? Because the grey wolves were being hunted and they were being killed. You might be thinking whether I am talking about the wellness from where the Yellow Crystal Park came and where the wolf has come. Okay? But there is a correlation. So what the scientists start discovering, and in 1995, they wanted to resurrect the entire Yellow Crystal Park. And someone suggested window. And what happened thereafter? The vegetation grew up. The area just become arid. It becomes fertile also. The sufficient amount of rain started also happening. So what was the wolf was a destroyer or creator? In this context, it became a creator. Let's go. COVID-19. The biggest disruptor. Nobody has seen, nobody has experienced. There was no history behind that kind of things, how to handle the pandemic. And many of us have suffered. But I took it as a disruptor, not it as a pandemic. Why? Because what happened thereafter, when the COVID-19 came to India, around 22nd of the March 2020, the government of India declared the lockdown for a day. Then 24th of the March, they declared for the lockdown for the entire country for the more than a month kind of things. And everybody was put under the one convention. And what actually started happening? The first wave was not very dangerous, but the second wave was much more vital for each and everyone. And many of us suffered. Some of us lost near and dears. Some of us were hospitalized. Despite having all the money and resources, they were struggling. That was the story. And that is the time when each and everybody started looking beyond what they were doing. And what actually impacted? When the concept of the wellness which has gone to the background, it came on the floor. Then being a self, I also started thinking about my own health and the business. I was a sufferer of the COVID-19, I was hospitalized. The family they also understood the meaning of the business. They understood the meaning of the health. Organization, so far it was a cost. Insurance, employee insurance, other kind of things, it was a cost. But during this period, everybody in the organization also understood it is not a cost. It's an investment. The government also understood the meaning of the total well-being of everyone. And that's why they started discussing about the holistic well-being. And what is the meaning of the holistic well-being? Let's see this one. It's not only about the mental health, it's about your physical health, it's about your social health, it's about your financial health, it's about your emotional health, it is also about your environmental health. Have you understood the environmental health? We are in this room, very cozy environment. Outside it is a 42 degree or 3 degree centigrade. Suppose that I would have been conducting this session outside. I have been sitting here. It is also important to understand that the environment also plays a factor. I will try to decode each and every one, slice by slice, and try to understand that how it is impacting us and what is next. Just go beyond the light of thing. What do we mean by the social health? Anybody can help me? What is the meaning of social health? Imagine when you were put under the lockdown, you were technologically connected with each and everyone, but you were socially disconnected. How you were feeling that point of time? You cannot go to the house of your family members or anybody was visiting. We were always very, very apprehensive of that very person. Yeah? When our social fabric was completely, we started working on the mistrust, and everybody was looking like he is a carrier of, she is a carrier of. And during that period of time, our social relationship actually fragmented, and how it has impacted. During that period of time, many of the adolescents suffered from the mental stress and depression. Many of the investors have gone through a very, very tough phase. And that's why it is important to understand the social well-being of. What is the physical? I am not going to touch the physical well-being. Let me just everybody understand the meaning of it. Emotional well-being. Why it is important? How it has impacted us? You found that your near dear are suffering, your near dears are not having the required medical facilities, and you cannot do anything. You found yourself helpless. The scales of hopelessness were very high at that point of time. I remember I was driving the entire organization through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have all the resources. Despite this thing, we were feeling that we are not doing helpful things for all the employees. Emotionally, I was drained out. And this emotional disconnect was leading to a lot of the stress about your health and giving a lot of the kind of things, stress, mental well-being were also being pushed. Your physical health was going down. Financial well-being. You all are aspiring to have a job. Some people might have got a job, or some people are in the queue of a job. Suppose that someone doesn't get it, or someone lost a job during the pandemic. Financial well-being is also. When you reach the age of 40 to 50, when your maximum financial needs start happening, and that's why you want to live to maximize your earnings. And suppose at that point of time the organization will be sorry, I don't have a job for you. What will happen? You might be going to gym every day, doing a lot of the care of your physical health. You are very, very socially interactive kind of a guy. But the moment the financial health is being questioned, everything comes down. discuss about the two core aspects, occupational and intellectual. Have you heard about the past? Prevention of sexual aspect. Yes. When the workplace becomes hostile, or your job is very strenuous. Imagine a traffic guy who is standing for nearly 8 to 10 hours, completely in a standing position, and all the vehicles are passing through him. What about the fatigue he is generating? Some days back, we heard this thing that one of the RPF guys used to, there are the 4-5 persons in the running train. And most of the time you go to the army or the police services, you find that the people are being denied the leaves. And this occupational hazards are actually killing them. Someone is working in the Siachen, someone working on the at the border, constantly under threat. That is his occupation. I am a improvisation guy, day in, day out, I handle the union, sometimes the union also become valid. And you are always walking on the tightrope. So your occupation also creates a lot of the stress for you. How you are going to cope? Intellectual. You have prepared a nice PPT. My friends have prepared a nice PPT and sometimes the circular. You get to their his or her name and it starts with others. That happens. Last but not least, very spiritual. The spiritual doesn't mean the religion. Let me just tell you, remind you. The spiritualism has nothing to do with the religion. It works on the Vasudeva Kutumbakam and Sarve Samtu Dehamya, Sarve Bhadrani Kushandi. So it is talking about the holistic kind of things. Absolute peace, absolute calm, looking for the well-being of others. My definition about the spiritualism is like this. And when you see this thing, when you start working on each and every aspect, then either as a self, or as a family member, or as a society, or as a government, or as an organization, you are working actually addressing the holistic well-being. My friends have touched upon what are the benefits. Let me just also let a little bit deeper dive. Why we should be doing? And I would like to share my own story. I was hospitalized. I was administered the antibiotics, and thereafter I was diabetic, and post that it aggravated, I was on the high dose of insulin. And it continued for the 2 years, almost the 2 years. And one day last October, I decided to be sorry, I have to leave it insulin at any cost. And my journey of the well-being started from that. From October to this date, I have lost 10 kg. For the last 4 months, I have not taken insulin. My medicine has been cut down to half. Because I have started working upon me. But I realized that this is not the way of life what I am living. I need to work upon myself first. Thereafter, I can actually go and do others and I start talking about what is the physical well-being. So that is important. When the actually as an organization or as a country, if you start working upon the holistic well-being, what actually happens? The productivity of each and everyone increases. When I was on the high dose of insulin, every morning I don't feel to go to the office. Then mornings are quite empty. Today it is not. So my productivity, my concentration within the organization has increased multiple. Even though last night when I checked in this hotel after 12 o'clock, in the middle of the night, I was not feeling that I have lost my energy. I still was full of energy, despite having the one back-to-back conference at Delhi. And Before this thing, I was a half-day officer. And that is the measurement of your product. So one kind of the small kind of a things, how it is improve your own productivity, and understand that 130 crores of Indians have started working upon how much the productivity of this country will be. You mentioned about absenteeism reduction, I am not going to touch upon. Morale. It's a morale booster. When you find the happy places, and I was during my lunch time, I was interacting with one madam, and she told me to see the association. I think most usual kind of things you also okay. But when the people are productive, people are not absenting on account of the various kind of things, they are usually in the right state of the mind. Okay? You find that the morale of everyone is very high. And when the morale of everyone is high, the overall operation culture increases. Previously, as an organization, we always used to think like the thing is very sensitive and a cost. And from the cost point of view, we always used to handle the everyone. Okay? But when you start working upon the health and wellness of everyone, you find that the ratio is going down and the cost on the insurance is coming down. And we have proved this. So my per employee cost has gone down by taking various kind of interventions. No need to mention about the employee engagement, because employee engagement is some total of everyone. When every employee is happy, they are engaged. They are engaged employee. If the employees are not happy, they are a disengaged employee. And one disengaged employee will infect other disengaged, another person to become disengaged, and this is more infectious than the COVID-19. Last but not least, that is the employee happiness. If your productivity high, morale is high, you mentioned about happiness quotients, this country. Okay, I always dispute that way data. But the moment each and every employee are reflections of the overall organization culture, the values, engagement, lower absenteeism, higher retentions, your employee management position goes much multiple. That was my brief presentation. Now the floor is open for discussion or insight or any clarification or any valuable input. So we would like to have a question later on. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have indeed set the tone for further discussion. Now, I would like to introduce the panel for today's conclave. The first speaker of the panel is Mr. Mukul Mathur. Mr. Mukul Mathur is a group head HR and ex-CJ DASIL. With more than 2 decades of experience with solid business acumen, Mr. Mathur is a value-driven, passionate and result-oriented, dynamic HR leader with great respect for people, culture, processes, innovation and creativity, and known for solving complex organizational challenges with ease in diversified culture and matrix organizational structures. He champions inclusivity, driving sensitization at workplaces which reflects in the fact that he is a mentor to a Shark Tank Season 2 startup named Be Unique, an organization which is working for the upliftment of the LGBTQ community. Mr. Mathur will be the moderator for today's panel discussion. Next, we have Mr. Pradeep Chavda. Mr. Pradeep Chavda is the HR Transformation Director, Sodexo Global, and is also on the Board of Directors at Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council of India, TWSSC. With a demonstrated history of 20 plus years of experience, Mr. Chavda is a founding member and CHRO of India's first payments bank, His remarkable journey includes impactful national level startups in banking and telecom sectors. Mr. Chawla has been a speaker at various IIMs, NHRD and Network and other national forums engaging in managing organizational transformation through leadership development, women leadership, technology adoption and creating talent cultures of diversity and inclusion. Now, introducing the next speaker of the panel, Mr. Gauri Shwar. Mr. Gauri Shwar is an accomplished global talent management and change expert. Being an electronic engineer by profession, Mr. Park has over 22 years of experience in learning and development. In this span, he has been associated with organizations including Accenture, Sodexo, and Credit Suisse. Apart from being a storyteller and an international coach, Mr. Wag loves art, music, is a tea connoisseur, and has a penchant of writing short stories. Next, we have Ms. Divya Sonali Mills. Ms. Divya Sonali Mills is a Director Human Resources AppNet India Private Limited. With over 22 years of industry expertise spanning healthcare, IT, telecom, and HR consulting, Ms. Mills is a seasoned HR professional. She holds an MBA from the Birla Institute of Technology and is a certified psychometrics professional. She has spearheaded various OD, L&D, and people management initiatives across the regions for leadership development, team effectiveness, employee engagement, and project management. Her flexible approach, geographical versatility, and knack for exploring the unknown underscore her passion for both professional and personal growth. Thanks to all our panelists for making time from their busy schedule and gracing this event with your presence. We would now like to steer the conclave by inviting all the panelists onto the stage. I would also like to invite Professor Vartika Datta, the faculty anchor of Yukti, the HR Club of IIM Amritsar, to felicitate the panelists. Like to request Mr. Mukul Mathur, the moderator, to take the helm of the conclave and commence today's discussion. Sir, please.
First of all, thank you everyone, and especially IIM Amritsar for inviting me here and in front of your 600 odd students. It's a great responsibility because whatever we're going to talk about, I mean, it's going to, you will be getting inspired by, whatever the panel speakers are going to be talking about, right? So it's a great audience here, and but I hate to actually, moderate any session which is after lunch. But thanks to Mr. Trump, at least, you have actually, made it possible for us to at least, address these people, right? And thanks the students here, the professor and Mr. Dharan to set the tone for the entire session as such, right? And I think we talked a lot about mental well-being here, and mental well-being and AI, as we discussed in the first session. It's been much talked about topic across the conferences, HR Conclave, which I have been to nowadays, right? And very important in terms of each and every very important in each and every organization. Right? So what is mental health as such, mental well-being? It's just a state of mind, and it's a very important piece, right? Very important aspect of the employee well-being because it impacts the performance and the productivity of each and every employee. So we can always say that yes, physically we are still fine, as Mr. Dikshit and Mr. Dharam also mentioned. Physically you may be absolutely fine, but unless until you are absolutely fine, your mental state is absolutely correct, you will not be able to perform, you will not be productive at all. Just to, very small example, if you have a tiff, if I have a tiff with somebody in my, at my home while going out for the office, of course, it's going to impact my own productivity as well, because it hovers your mind, and then whatever you do, probably, as you mentioned, the concentrate, you will not be able to concentrate on your work. So this is a very important aspect. Now, thanks for the presentation, beautiful presentation which the students have made. I must appreciate that. It captured it really well, all the aspects and all the aspects which will be covered by Mr. Dharam. Now, whatever you've seen here, it's all theory, right? It is theory, good to understand, basic concept, and it has cleared the entire concept of wellness and well-being. Now, what we're going to talk about, how it is going to happen, how do we implement it in the organization, because that is a very important aspect. That what all steps in the organizations are taking to ensure, to create an impact in the organization, to handle this particular piece within their organization. So we'll try and understand the challenges which we faces and how are we trying to mitigate those challenges, and that too in various industries and various sets of people. Because the challenges of mental well-being are different for every set of people, whether you're managing the white collar people and the blue collar people. It's far more different. The gravity of that challenge is different. For a blue collar worker, the gravity could be much higher as compared to a white collar worker. Similarly, the actions also which they take during that stress period. I've been to certain, I can quote certain examples as well when person of blue collar worker was highly stressed, the kind of impact it has on their lives, their families, and the actions they take for themselves. It is something which really disturbs us at times, right? So I have a very good panel with me, an esteemed panel of people with different industries. So I'll take it ahead from here. And I would request all my panelists to talk about their organization, what their organization do, and the industry they come from. Because it is a very, why I'm telling you all this is because please keep that perspective in mind. The industry they're coming from, what does their organization do, so that whatever we are going to be talking about, that this is the action which we take in our industry, you will be able to relate to it. Right? So let's start off with that conversation. Thanks. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So, thanks Pradeep, Korish, and I'm honored to be hosting this panel. Right? So, first of all, I just want to understand from all of you just to give a little brief on your respective organizations. Right? In fact, we also discovered a few new things yesterday while we were talking over the dinner. Right? Just a brief on your organization. What does your organization do? What sort of employees you have in the organization? Then we come to the mental health part of it. I come from a logistics background, right? So I have, I represent CJ Dawson Logistics, which is one of the biggest logistics company in India. And in logistics, of course, 80% of our workforce is a blue collar workforce, comprising of drivers, loading supervisors. You have traffic managers, even the branch level people are also not that intellectually sound. So most of the workforce is not that intellectually sound. Even the people at the regional level, they have become the regional heads, or maybe the regional heads, while they have come up the ladder. So somebody who would have started in the organization from a traffic manager position or from a loading supervisor position, and by performing in their respective respective positions, they have become a regional manager as well. right? However, having said that, the intellectual capability of the people still remains same. Unless and until there are certain people who have actually put in efforts to increase their competencies and skill level, right? So it's a different challenge altogether. Then we have white collar people, highly qualified and professionally qualified people who are part of the corporate work, who sits in the corporate, right? So the competition is different. Hence, the solutions for each and every category is also different, right? Yeah.
Hello everyone, this is Pradeep and I represent Sodexo. I'm also board of directors for Sodexo as well as the transformation director. In India, we have almost 55,000 people and globally we have 500,000 plus people. And we are India's largest food and facility management company. Mental health is very, very crucial for us because we are a people company. And if something happens to people, it has a direct impact on the services, it has impact on the profitability of the organization and other things. And we work in a very difficult environment also. Example, we are leaders in energy and resources. So most of the floating vessels around India, Middle East, and everywhere, we provide food and facility. Almost 90% of the floating vessels, we are providing food and facility management services. So imagine you being there around just 10 or 12 people on the rig or a barge and surrounded by water only for so many days. You can imagine what can go in the mind of employees and who can work into that environment. In fact, you cannot probably, without wearing a glasses, you cannot go out. Actually, that kind of reflection of sun and everything is there. From there to the, we are largest food service provider to the healthcare industry. So most of the hospitals, we serve food. So healthcare has a different challenge. There is a challenge of patient infection controls and suppose if some needle has been kept in the dustbin and if my employee picks up the needle, they can get a HIV infection or something else, and that's why they are very worried that how do they manage facility management of such places. To the pharmaceutical industry, to IT, to infrastructure, almost 1,800 companies across India where our employees work. And a single initiative by human resource functions or leaders around wellness creates a big impact to the organization, not only to the employees' well-being, but directly to the profitability of the organization. Example, the WHO says that almost 35% of the employee turnover is today, 2022 survey, they say it's accountable to the wellness of the employees. So imagine an organization which is 5 lakh employees, and if I can manage even 10% of the attrition, that accounts to the huge amount of savings, crores of rupees of savings. Beyond the business, actually, we need to care for people also. And there is a lot, maybe I will share in the later part of the discussion, that why the caring and emotions and communication around this topic is so important. And just leaving one note here, that example, if you see suicide, and which is an outcome of the mental health issue, 96% of the suicide can be prevented because most of the people who are suffering from suicide, they tell to their friend that I am feeling like committing suicide, to the family member. Unfortunately, what we all do, we try to support the person when we are not professional, we don't have coaching and counseling degrees or whatever, the education. There is a medical intervention which is required in case of suicide because there are some chemicals which release in the brain which impacts further stress level and other things. So a professional care and help is required. Whether organization is providing such kind of platform and framework is something I will probably dwell upon in my subsequent discussion.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Pradeep. So how many of you are aware that Sodexo is into other businesses as well apart from the group? Was anybody aware? Very few batches. It's a discovery for us as well yesterday.
Yeah, actually most people know us from the open business, but we are India's largest food and facility management service provider.
So that's why it is important to understand what they are into and then look at it from that perspective also. Yeah, Divya.
Thanks, Mukul. Thanks. IIM Amritsar, Sat Shri Akal.
Sat Shri Akal.
Thank you so much for inviting all of us and for giving me this opportunity to learn from you all. I'm definitely looking forward to the questions. As Mukul rightly said, right in the beginning that we are here to learn from you all as well. And along with the distinguished speakers, I'm here today. I'm very glad that afternoon session, yes, definitely. So tell me, how many of you use mobile phones, smartphones? All 600 hands up? Good. How many of you have electronic appliances at home? Can we do away without these? How many say, no, yes, we cannot do it without this? My question is, how many of us say, we cannot do without this? The answer would be yes. All 600, we can't do without these, right? Smartphones and electronic appliances. It is the need of the hour, and as we move in life. So that's where our organization, Ambit India Private Limited, is into. So while we are into the supply chain of semiconductors, microchips, which are used in the electronic items. So whatever electronic items we use day in and day out, that's where the microchips are being used, which are very, very small, tiny, we can't see sometimes even with our eyes. So we are into the supply chain of this distribution. We are world global leaders. We have another competition, so somewhere we are up, somewhere we are down. So that's where. It's a Phoenix-based organization, and I report into Asia Pac, so working for Asia Pac, entire based out of India. So our company is into, as I said, microchip, into distribution, supply chain. So our employees interact with the suppliers, the manufacturers, and also with the customers. So we are in between. So now tell me, you have seen the sandwich, right? We eat sandwich, we eat burger. The middle part is always compressed. Yes or no?
Yes.
So employee mental health and well-being becomes very important. So I'll share examples what we do and what the industry does. As Mukul will ask questions, moderate the sessions today, I'm here to share my experiences. Over to you.
Just one moment. I mean, just please help for the benefit of the students. I mean, what sort of workforce do you have? What sort of people do you employ? The quality of people.
Okay, so we employ people. First of all, we take the skill sets, people who are from electronics background, either they are diploma holders or electronics engineering. The reason is because they will understand when they go to the customers or when they interact with the suppliers, they understand that where the product is going to be used. And believe me, they have not seen the product. The product doesn't come to our organization. From the manufacturers globally, it comes to the shipment and for shipment to our shipping yard in Singapore. From Singapore, it comes to India, or it directly comes to India, directly to the customers from the customs office. So that's what one is. And then in terms of the roles and functions, of course, sales and marketing, because it's a product-driven organization. Then we would be having business development people, very important. Again, the product marketing people we have, all from electronics background. So furthermore, as we go, and of course the backend staff is very, very strong. We need to have the backend team. So these are the different functions and the different roles that we have.
So more of the qualified professionals which they hire. Right? Please, keep these things. These are very important things while we are talking about employees, because it all depends upon audience. It all depends whom are you doing it for, right? And why am I telling you all this is because your students got to give you that perspective that whatever intervention which you end up doing in the organization, implementing in the organization, it is primarily related to the audience. Which audience, what is the kind of audience you have, and then you will decide what sort of intervention do I need to do, how do I do it, how do I implement it, execute it, right? In what language do I need to execute it and implement it, which is easily understandable by them, right? And what all steps do I need to take? We need to understand the psyche of the audience and then do it, right? So, now, Varish.
Thanks, Mukul. It's great to be here, and stole my thunder. Blessings are still there. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. No, it's a pleasure being here. I think before I talk about myself, I just want to thank all of you. I think everyone has worked really hard to put this thing together. I know the kind of effort that goes behind to get this together. It's the 8th year, so really well done. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much.
Clap for yourself.
I thought for a moment I should do the we are the champions kind of thing, but I mean, no, I think it's just post-match. Let's keep the we are the champions thing. Maybe get the I don't know. But I'm very stoked to be here, and it's just amazing to see that. I see that. I mean, what I've been told is that this number of people have only increased every time. And this is a record, right? If I'm not wrong, 600 people in the house. Wow, doing post-match. So kudos to you guys. Well done. It's just great to be here. Thanks to everyone, all the professors. We are missing some of the panelists from the morning, but it's just so inspiring to be here. I'm just super excited to be here. And I was trying my best to control my heartbeat right now, just to be, because I'm very nervous to be here. And the reason I'm nervous is because it's just exciting to be here, really. It's something that I really wanted to do. I work with an international bank, a Swiss bank called as Credit Suisse. You may or may not have heard about it because they don't have retail banking in India. In fact, the only place that they have retail banking is Switzerland. And when I joined this bank, I was like super stoked, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna have a Swiss bank account, man. Really, I was like, yes. And for a moment, it was gonna come true. I was told that I need to sort of please some people. I was not told of that. I was just told that I can't have it because in case I want to have a bank account with Credit Suisse or any Swiss bank for that matter, I need to be in Zurich and be here, right? So yeah, but then we do everything. Like it's known for its investment banking business and wealth management. Investment banking is. Do you guys know what investment banking is? Just a quick raise of hands. Yes. Okay. So I won't explain that. Don't worry. If you have a question, ask me. Wealth management. So we know how to manage wealth apparently. But then there's a lot that goes behind that as well. The kind of people that we work with, the kind of people that we hire are in the front of the office who are wealth managers, are relationship managers. They hired from top business schools, be it from IIMs or be it from the SPJs of the world, just to give you a bit of context. And people come from Harvard and all different management colleges worldwide. It's not easy. There is training. There's the training floor, which really freaks me out. I've been there once, and I'm like, I'm not going to come back there again. So that's what there's the bank does a lot of all these. The bank also does a lot of back office operations, which is managing risk, which takes care of the credit rating, finance, IT, compliance, legal, whole gamut. So it's a very complex business. Being Swiss, they have a punch out for being on time, which is fantastic. So got some amazing values. You perhaps would have heard that Credit Suisse is now has merged with UBS, which is the second largest Swiss bank. Now apparently the first one, of course. So we are under the process of transition. That means we'll have more jobs, and we're going to move to around 120,000 or 1.2 lakh employees worldwide. In India, we have approximately 9,000 employees with Credit Suisse, and with the merger, it's going to be 70,000. Another easily 20-25,000 on contract. Right? So that's a lot of people. I think somewhere around coming April 2024, April is where we will get back from our hiring, so-called hiring freeze to really hiring a lot of people. So I'm really excited about that. So that's a bit about it. More. Thanks.
Thanks, Ganesh. So guys, we will keep this session very, very interactive, right? So please, you can always raise your hands just in case if you have a question which needs to be answered properly, because I very strongly feel that if you have a question right now and we are talking about a particular topic, right? It becomes easier for us to answer, also you also to maybe understand the context as well, right? So before I start the question and answer session, I would also like to request you people to keep in mind the diversity you have in your respective organization, right? What is the kind of diversity each one of you have in your respective organization? Diversity not only in terms of gender and otherwise as well, right? Because how are you managing that diversity, please? while managing the, mental well-being, the health of the people, right? Because if you talk about, as I said, I have been associated with one of the startups which is into LGBTQ, for the upliftment, which is working for the upliftment of the LGBTQ community. So if any one of you who's been hiring those set of people, like as you mentioned, you have some transgenders, right? Similarly, you must be having some people. So what are you doing differently for those people versus the people versus the other?
Certainly. We have various kind of diversity in our organization. For example, diversity in terms of generations. We have employees who are 70 years plus also. In fact, we were among the few organizations initially who scrapped the retirement policy. I'm sure all of you will be knowing that retirement is at 58, but there is no technical logic behind why retirement at 58 and why not at 59, why not at 60, why not at 60 and a half or something. But since HR is printing on the letters and people are getting retired, so we scrapped the retirement policy recently. So we have a generations to manage. Actually, we hired recently somebody who was 72 years old. I have 10 trans people in my HR team itself. So that's another thing. Our company is led by a women leader, or Sophie. So, at the leadership at a global level, we are almost 56% women employees. In India, we have more than 1,000 plus specially able people working for us. So, we have some special shift arrangement for them so that they can commute. So, most of the specially able people, their socio-economic status is also not so great. So, they travel from very far off. Like if you take up Mumbai, they come from very far places. So even during the peak working hours, they cannot commute in the train because the train compartment, especially the compartment itself, is full. So if you want to have an inclusive culture, then you need to have a differential shift arrangement for them. And similarly, if you have a women who has come after maternity act, then you need to have a different shift arrangement for that. So there are multiple complexities around managing. And maybe I can just give an example of trans person, and what goes into the mental health part of it, and then probably I'll hear from my colleagues also. So, when we hired specially able people as well as trans people, we figured out, and in fact, we have something called Spirit of Inclusion, which is a certification every manager needs to go through to create an inclusive environment in his or her department. And there are some mental health related certification everyone needs to go, so that they are sensitive towards various genders and diversities and etc. So when we hired these employees and when we offered them, and they were wonderful, they were very talented people, these trans people we hired them, achieving all the targets and everything. So, fortunately I managed to get somebody in the headquarter, and I just interacted with her and how are you feeling about it and everything. This is a wonderful organization across, I really enjoyed it and everything. So, but I said, let's talk the real thing actually, because in mental health, you need to really talk, and the communication is important. And as a leader, you need to make somebody comfortable, because it's 80% is correct doesn't mean everything is correct actually. It's a 20% only, or maybe 10% which matters. So while we have a especially washroom and everything separately, so that because she told me that if I go to the men's washroom, they don't want me to be there. If I go to the women's washroom, they'll feel awkward to me. So I need to be in a different washroom, okay, which is a differently washroom. So starting from the washroom, the usage of washroom, to the place where they have their lunches and dinners, they feel that while we are amazing in terms of having a dinner and lunch with them in the office environment and everything, but if they have planned an evening party within the colleagues, then the person says that there is a reluctance in terms of calling me as a trans person to come and attend that party. Then when people talk to them, there is actually scan them top to bottom, because their dressing, because of the way they speak, they are louder, sometimes their expressions are different, and there is something called homophobia, all of you are aware. So you can imagine when you have a diversity, and even as a leader you want to increase the diversity in your organization, you are going to grapple with the mental health issues, and these issues may be created by your organization or maybe the environment and everything. And we have no option but to deal with it, we have no option but to have the right mechanism and resources for that. And maybe in the later part we can discuss about what kind of resources Sodexo as an organization is deploying, because we are globally now one organization to work with LGBTQ community. And India also, we've been supporting the. Yeah, there are direct correlation of diversity and mental health issues, and it has to be dealt in a very, very sensitive and unique manner.
Thanks, Yukti. Thanks. Now, we come to our first question. Now, every organization is taking steps to ensure to provide the best of the facilities and a conducive environment to its employees, right? Still, as we were just talking about the numbers and we have seen those graphs, right? That still, probably we are not able to overcome this mental wellness piece, and still there are challenges within the organization. Now, I would like to ask maybe Gorish first. Now, as an organization, what all strategies do you think that the organization, or the steps which organization is taking to mitigate this and to manage this in your organization?
That's a very important question. And what I like is that the strategies involve the end-to-end life of employees. It's owned by HR, which is fantastic, and sponsored by the business. And so it's really a top-down strategy that we are utilizing, that we are sort of employing, where the first people to get involved are our leadership team. So it goes top-down. And be it any kind of issues, be it in terms of, for example, be it in terms of the stress cost because of uncertainty in the market, where let's say, where you see that the market is uncertain or people are getting laid off, or the merger that I spoke about. So there is the first part of the strategy is there is heavy involvement from leadership. There is sponsorship in terms of ensuring that there is clear communication at all times. So if it's bad news, there is bad news. If it's good news, it's good news. But more importantly, it's communicated at different levels. That's one thing that I really appreciate about the organization. And it's also communicated in such a way that it's not just email, but also forums such as town halls or open house, where people are given opportunities to really ask tough questions. And that's the thing. There's a lot of media involvement, being a large Swiss bank, which means that we are also very cautious about what kind of information is shared when it comes to mental well-being, etc., which is really important, because any kind of knee-jerk reaction could really impact employees in a very different way. There are various programs, right from senior leaders to the frontline level employees. We engage. We have around 3 years before, we invested in a tool called Degree, which is an AI-enabled tutoring platform that provides resources for employees at all levels to have access to resources that addresses any kind of mental well-being, or so we have something called the Well-being Hub, which really addresses all kind of issues that our keynote speakers sort of address. And apart from that, there are processes and policies installed. Specifically, for example, during COVID times that we mentioned, there was a lot of focus on providing work from home technology support, and sort of parental support, etc. There were including ecosystems which were built. So multiple strategies, I would say. Top-down leadership. So just to summarize, leadership involvement, that's number one. Trainings, programs available that employees can enroll. And number 3 is processes, policies that will aid that support. Apart from that, there's a lot of other stuff which is basically voluntary, where people get opportunities to reach out to fellow colleagues, reach out to experts that they have a question about, and things like that. So a lot of those stuff.
And if I can just add, Gaurish, in Sodexo's digital strategy for the year, the mental health has been incorporated into it. So, most of the technology which we are developing for the clients and consumers, we are embedding wellness into it. Example, we launched our HR app wherein there is an SOS button. So anytime you feel like uncomfortable, just click on the SOS button and we support you. And we have an ICAS, there's an app for every employee, so they can actually learn about the mental health topics like depression, suicide, and many other such kind of elements then there is a chat available for people to connect with the psychotherapist or counselors and everything. There is a there's a on-call counselors available. So those kind of tools are available. And there are various ways. The entire technology gives an analytics around it that there are certain periods, certain department, certain weather conditions, certain economic group XYZ has a little differential mental health issues, and how can you, because you cannot color entire world with one paint, one color paint. You need to have a unique strategy for issues at a various level, as you mentioned rightly. So the technology really helps in terms of decoding the mental health issues, and it can be with anyone. And the matter of the fact is how accessible the resources are with the employees, so that they don't feel uncomfortable. And one more last thing I want to add here is that the confidentiality element in the mental health is very, very important. Because if your HR knows that XYZ is reaching out for the mental health issues, then employees are not comfortable with it, because it's a private matter and they don't want everyone. So how the organization is putting the confidentiality element around it, and many such things are important here.
Very, very important point. And you also mentioned that it has to be, whenever we are creating a wellness plan for the entire organization, it has to be endorsed by the manager, by the top man. It has to go from top to the bottom. Very important point. And he talked about stigma. It's a very critical part in any organization, because somebody goes to HR, and of course confidentiality is what we're talking about, right? Somebody gets to know this guy has some mental problem. It's a stigma. People don't understand what they're all about, right? So again, there are thought processes, different thought processes. People become judgmental about that particular individual, right? They start behaving differently with those people, right? So again, as you rightly mentioned, it is very, very important to keep it confidential. But having said that, still, we as the HR professional, we have to find a solution for it. We have to do something for our people, right? Now with this, I will come to Divya. Your same question, that what are strategies are you trying to create in your organization to counter this? But first thing which I would really like to understand, maybe for the benefit of the students, that how do you assess that gap? That yes, there is a problem with the organization. These are the people who I need to take care of. So what are things does your organization do? Assess that gap identification.
So in terms of the strategy, unfortunately, since it's a global organization and US based and US, then Europe, Asia and India. So entire culture comes into picture. And as I said, that our business is so that our employees have to interact with any manufacturer sitting in any country in the world, and then customer in India. So when we talk about mental well-being, so the culture within India of different states, different languages and culture, mindset, taste, preferences of somebody sitting in any other country becomes very important. So for this, at the strategic level, Maslow's theory, how many of you have heard Maslow's theory?
Everybody, I guess, right? Maslow's theory. So there are people who are not
Abraham Maslow's theory? Thank you. So it starts with roti kapda makan, that's physiological. Safety, then comes social,
self-actualization.
self-actualization, which may cause self-esteem. Okay. So as our friend Dharm has also shared the entire, that was related to completely Maslow's theory, whatever the 5 stages, and it was complete there. So here I would like to bring it, because it's complete the way we work, the culture has a very important role to play for people's success in the world. So there is a program that we have, and in that program, the entire Maslow's theory has been framed there. And that comes the financial, the mind, body, the entire part. So that's where it is part of our strategy. And when it comes to India, so in the India leadership team, so we have defined, and the company is very particular that we have people who speak different languages in terms of they are from different states. And I am one of those who is actually from Bharat. So we have people question was how do we assess the gap here? Yeah. So how do we assess the gap? So we do have different kind of surveys that we do. We do have Great Place of Work certification that we go for it. And these are then of course the different mechanisms of one-on-one feedback and during the exit interview and during the even during when we hire people, we understand that what are their expectations versus when we get different metrics that we do inside the organization in order to get the feedback of employees. And with that, we get to understand when it comes to well-being part of it, whether the organization is really placing them. So whether it is the place, one question in Great Place to Work, also the services, and a question which is there in the employee engagement survey also, even in the exit interview we have, whether the employee is happy to work here, whether we provide, even at the time of onboarding, with the new joinees when we take, after 30 days again we take, the survey is what we do, what we did. So these questions are there, whether we are fulfilling their Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that is whether we are fulfilling those or not. And if not, then we come across the conclusion with a study that yes, which are the areas we need to focus upon. And that's how we work.
Great, Gauri. So what we have understood is, one, that depending upon the kind of audience we have, the geography we have, the culture we have, right? Like for international employees and for employees in India and within India, I mean if it is from South, what do we need to do? If it is from some other location, there is a different way we need to conduct it. First part of it. Second part is, how do we assess it? Assessment is very, very important and becomes very difficult, and as you rightly mentioned, that as a part of the Great Place to Work survey, there are certain questions which are being purposely feeded in. We have put in certain questions in between to see the understanding or to see the level of the mental health level of these employees. See, in my personal experience, I would like to share this. If you conduct a separate survey altogether for the mental health, people are extremely reluctant to actually answer. Right? So it is very important from the HR standpoint that whatever you are doing, whatever initiatives or intervention you are taking care of, it has to be positioned really well with the employees. If you ask somebody that are you mentally fit, if you ask questions related to only mental health or your well-being, if you throw a survey, how many of you will be willing to answer that question, right? But if there is an existing survey which is on, if you just start, just put in 2 questions in between, then it becomes a lot easier for us to actually take that feedback, take the insights from those 2-3 questions, and then work on it, right? So now, having said that, once anything else which you want to add on to the gap analysis part of it?
Yeah, I can probably just evaluate into it. So basically, please see our social framework together. We have been grown by our parents that nothing is wrong, hide the things, blah blah blah. Okay, all of us, and especially we see women at workplace. We are speaking a lot, but today also when the mother needs a help in kitchen, the mother is asking the daughter to come and help actually, rather than asking a son to come and help. So we are still not there actually, and the social structure is truly not uncovered and truly in sense of mental health. And then the challenges comes in how do we measure and how do we find the gaps and everything. How do we uncover, and there are various layers of hidden things, and we all know it, but still we don't acknowledge the fact. I think most organizations are trying their best, and there is no 100% answer. But I can just tell you one thing which we are trying to do is that most of the engagement surveys, which are annual in nature, are very tactfully planned by HR people after the increments, great increments, great business news, and blah blah blah, and then you get wonderful scores and everything. Okay. So now even the board have understood, the investors have understood that they really need to know the real engagement issue and not the annual engagement, which really gets quote unquote manipulated. However, and that's the reason most companies are now moving towards anytime engagement. So in our company, we are deploying an AI tool which actually takes up various life cycle event of an employee, and at those events certain questions are actually put forward, And then you figure out that there are pockets where the issues are there. There are pockets where the disengagement gets step in. Example, the disengagement could be at the time joining, or maybe could be an induction, or new manager change, or location change, blah blah blah. So we need to do this micro indicator. We need to find those micro indicators, and then the strategy has to be built upon that what goes wrong when employees feel depressed and such. And the other thing, I really like the Maslow's because financial needs are equally important. All of us, we need wonderful salaries and everything. And believe me, a lot is connected, your mental health and everything is connected with financial well-being also. So in our company, what we do, we actually do a lot of financial well-being seminars and sessions and everything. So that at least, if we can't give them great salaries, we can ensure that we offer them tax benefits and so on. Everything can't be solved, but something has to be, solved in a certain manner. And these are some of the ways we are trying to deal with that.
Yeah, one more point. See, as HR in our organization, when people go for their annual health checks, so we do have their reports with us, and it is announced, and they do agree to it that yes, the annual health check report is there with us. So we don't scrutinize that, but yes, with the aggregator with whom we have the tie-up, so there is that they would give us the complete insight on that, and if there is any aberration, so that definitely helps us. So that does not mean that it is linked to mental health, but yes, in a way, if the person being healthy or age-wise, if we just look at the person looks healthy, but actually there is some issue, the report is not fine. So we do silently, we keep it in our radar that there is something wrong, and then we just have a check on that. So not directly we can't do it, but yes, we are aware of it.
Great. So please, guys, please ask questions if you have any. Right? Any questions till now? I should not be asking you guys. Just raise your hands, and probably we would love to answer those questions as well. Right? Right. Now.
Here, right here.
Sorry.
They have been practicing a part of mental well-being right now, if you know what I mean. After lunch, the things that happens to us, some of them have been practicing that part of mental well-being, which is really good, I think, in fact. And now I'm talking about people sleeping off, which is good. But which is really important. That there's just one point which I like to add, which I've seen organizations do. I'm not talking about my organization, but a lot of organizations have started acknowledging this, and they have started giving a part of the benefits is to take a day off in a month. So like it's not like your holiday, but you get a day off. You can take a day off. It's not like you get a day off every month and you just give them that, but you can apply for it and can get a day off for your mental well-being, which is fantastic. And it just empowers employees to think about saying, hey, I have this thing, I want to take a day off, it's just too much that's happening. Sorry, yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, now how many of you have actually heard that people don't leave organizations, they leave managers? Right? It is being said. It is always being said that people don't leave organizations, they leave managers. They leave leaders, they leave their reporting managers, their supervisors. So our second question is around that leadership only. The managers and the leaders plays a very, very important role because these are the people who are managing the people down the line. Right? So mental well-being is directly related to the person who's managing you. It's a direct correlation. Right? So now we would like to touch upon the topic that how the leaders are playing a very important role in terms of managing the mental well-being of the employees, of their team members as well as the other team members. Primarily their team members. How important are they? So we can start with
here. So there are managers, they themselves also go through the mental health issues. So I think the first element is the self-reflection, for all of us as leaders and as future leaders also. If you can get affected by a particular behavior, obviously your team members will actually. So one, the leader lead by example is something I would probably say as number one. Number two is, regular check-ins. Example, there are companies who have a formal arrangement to do a regular check-in with the employee. So these are some very systematic sessions wherein the employees are asked upon how are you doing your job and family and children and many other things. I'll give you one example. Like especially when we operate 80% of the blue collar employees, we operate with. Most of the blue collar employees, their aspiration, the Indian blue collar employees, their aspiration for their kid and themselves is very high. If you ask the blue collar employee, what do you want your kid to become? So they will never say electricians and plumbers and everything, okay? But if you go to US or some other places, they are fine with electricians that I want to make my kid as electrician. So what happens is our aspirations are very high. So what we do actually in these check-in sessions, we have a special education guide for our employees' kids. So it's available. So what to do after 10, what to do after 12, graduation. There are psychological, there are education therapy, education counselors are there. They actually guide the employees' kids actually how to focus on that. So even if the kids' problems of their education and other things can impact the mental health of the employees, and the organization cannot ignore and cannot see that individual as a separate entity like a machine who comes to the office. This employee is actually connected with the families and friends and the environment, as you mentioned earlier also. That how. The second thing is the recognizing employees. So recognition plays a big booster actually. Even if I think Gaurish mentioned about the wonderful. So the only time we all clapped is when Gaurish actually mentioned about the great arrangement done by all of you. So recognition really makes a big difference. And the third thing is the employee feedbacks and the inclusion of employees into the critical decision making is important. So even if as a leader you are taking a decision and if you actually include your team members and get them into this, so I think that also gives them a confidence and then other things improve upon. So I think these are 1 or 2, 3 things which our company tries to do.
So generally the mental health is disturbed by your manager only generally. That's how it happens, because the manager is scolding you and is reprimanding you. That's how it is going to impact your mental health also. Yeah, Dila, please.
So I was one of my managers, and 2-3 times, first time I heard my team is not happy. Second time again I heard my team is not happy. So third time I thought, before going through the manager, third time let me go and check myself. So I got some data input. So third time again I went, but third time I did not ask about the team. I asked how happy are you. So then the information came in. So it's very important that the organizations, they work for the managers also, whether the managers are happy or not. So in our organization, we do have many leadership like many other organizations. I'm sure here for all the organizations must be having sessions, awareness, and of course the sessions on like multi-generational teams, if people are from different generations, and connect, employee connect. Very important in our organization, we are done away with the bell curve system of performance management. There are just quarterly checks in the system globally, and it's the one-on-one feedback which is given, and that's how. So the pressure there goes on. That does not mean that we are not a performance driven. We are very, very hardcore performance driven, hardcore product driven, hardcore numbers driven. But the quarterly checks in is done religiously. That's where the role of HR comes into, that we give the insights that why it is important, and there we ensure that yes, the developmental feedback, the hand-holding is done. In the morning session, if you remember, there was Manish did speak about, and Gaurav, I think, Gaurav was here, right? Yeah. So they did speak about competency and skill-based training. Do you agree? Do you remember that? Yes. So the manager identifies that very one-on-one in discussion with the team member, with each of the team member, and then the hand-holding done. So that is where the connect becomes. So when we talk about the mental well-being, why am I coming here? It's not just about to get paid at the end of the month. It's about my career, right? So when we talk about master's theory, going to that again, it's about financial and career is also. So when I talk about the strategy in our organization, career, financial, mind, body, and social. So I'll come to the social part and the connection part again in the next example. So that's how we have our system.
How can leaders be very supportive, in terms of managing the mental health? How can they create a supportive culture, right? Within the team. When I talk about culture, I'll give you, again, I would like to give a perspective here. We talk about organization culture, and let me tell you, within the organization itself, you can see different cultures. Within the organization itself, the culture flows from top to bottom, but if you have 4 floors in your, if there are 4 floors in a building, the culture of every floor can be different, depending upon the people who are there at that particular floor. Like if you have the top management sitting at the, sitting on the 4th floor, and then the people there are very quiet, they'll not be, they're not doing anything very, the conduct will be such that, they should not disturb the senior management. When you go to other floors, again, depending upon the kind of, managers you have, right? There is a floor where the manager is very flexible, very, jolly, he has a very jolly nature, very supportive of his team. Again, the culture of that team itself will be far more different as compared to, say, some other team maybe, which is very particular about their work, and then the manager is not like, doesn't like people to, move here and there. So again, culture differs from team to team, organization to organization, floor to floor. So here we'll be talking about leaders, right? So leaders, how leaders can create a culture within their teams which can support the mental well-being of the employees.
So when I would say about the leadership, so one example I gave you that there are people from different states, which is very much planned, so that is there. We do talk about during our town hall in terms of having people connecting to everyone, and we enforce that people in the larger teams, smaller teams, there would be team outings which is outside the office, and within the office, again, coming to your thing that whether how to make people come together. So we don't make people sit in one place for a longer duration. I meant to say the change of workstation. So it's like warm dalgo and then people will run away. So that's how we are trying to mingle people. Because I'll tell you, it's not that all the customers or suppliers are, even in India, they are based in southern part of the country. No, they are mostly in the northern region. Now people, I would say because it's Bangalore based, so I have 80% of people who are from southern part of the country. But they must understand Hindi, they must speak Hindi. So that is one of the reasons. Then again, what do we do as leaders, I'm saying? That we do the role change, we do the location change also. So that is where we try to bring in the culture change in order to have inclusivity, in order to have the diversity, and thus bringing the mental peace.
Yeah, I'll try and answer your question. The one thing that I firmly believe in, that's what I practice, to be a good leader or a good manager, the first thing that you got to do is show people who you are. Talk about yourself. Work on building a trust-based relationship. You can't be intrusive as a leader. You can't be, giving promises to people that I'm here for you without demonstrating that. And remember, everyone, a leader is not a superhero or a magician, right? So that's one thing that I really believe in, that as leaders, if you want to talk about mental health, the first thing that really talks about, that's what sort of Pradeep alluded to, is talking about self. Right? And it's a very important thing. An example I would like to quote here is where sometime back in one of my previous organizations, there was a senior leader who was invited to talk about mental health, and he sort of came in. And he had a really nice slide that really explained his life journey. So it was like a simple line graph. It said, oh, he did his engineering, and so it was like the x-axis was years or time, and the y-axis was his career graph. And it said, and just had a really simple things such as things like completed engineering, did my post-graduation, got married, first girlfriend, bought a car, blah blah blah. Father passed away, got a new job, got a new house, and then it said that lost my brother, lost my son. So the graph went like this, literally like this. And then, we like shocked and I'm like, hang on, you're like the managing director of a company and you're talking about, in his graph, he was like at a negative or like a ramp down right now. And that's when he meant saying that, see, I have come across stress and strain all throughout my life. If you think I've reached here really easily, I haven't. Right? But unfortunately, I do not have a support system. I didn't have people to go to. Talk about that, I'm in trouble, help me, because I was a breadwinner. I really had to do everything. But then, that's when he explained that, we are providing those services. Now you have resources. You have people to reach out to. There is EAP, like the Employee Assistance Program, whatnot, right? If you're still hesitant to use the services, or the day I was talking about, is going to be a problem. So as a leader, I need to, that's an example of leader there, when I'm talking about being inclusive, talking about that you can reach out to me and ask me anything at all. If I build trust, I can expect people in my team to come and talk to me about anything, including mental well-being or not. So
The only thing I would like to add upon here that unfortunately all of us are into the bandwagon of blaming a manager for everything. I have a different view here because manager himself or herself also goes through a lot of stress, managing the businesses, and there are n number of employees, which makes the manager's life hell. So, and in today's context, the organizations are so complex that the managers are very far off from the employees. Example, when we are working in a flexi working arrangement, manager was not exactly on you or somebody else's. So I think the entire environment has to play a key role here. Manager might be, because if you see a lot of Gallup has been challenged by Kennexa model, and because Gallup focuses on only manager, and Kennexa says no, it's not manager, it's about the environment, peer group, friends, colleagues, policies of the organization, financial condition of the organization, many other things. So yeah, manager has to take the lead, and I would not dispute on that, but I think it would be unfair to just blame the manager for the relevant issues.
There's no blaming on the manager or the leader as such. But again, I think to an extent, because they are the ones who are directly interacting with their team members, and if there are maybe 40 to 500 managers, and then in the organization there are 10,000 odd people, I think if those 500 managers are able to manage their teams well, I think the rest of the organization will be taken care of. So that's the kind of impact which we intend to create here. I'll give my perspective as well here. Now, as a manager, probably, of course, I mean, you are bound by certain frameworks which are there in the organization, certain policies which you have to abide by for your employees as well. I mean, especially I'm talking from the HR standpoint, right? Now, I think the best thing, or the only thing which is there in our hand, what we can do is to create an environment within our team where an environment of open feedback. People should be encouraged to come and talk to you freely. If people are stressed, people talk to you, people come to you and talk about whatever they're going through. I'm not talking about mental wellness at all. I'm just talking about anything and everything what they're undergoing, what they're going through. Good, bad, whatever. If there is a team member who comes to you and says, sir, this is what I bought. I mean, like, somebody says that I bought a bike today, or I just bought a house today. What does it show? It's an indicator that he or she is happy to share, their personal lives. Similarly, if somebody is undergoing a challenge, undergoing a problem, right, at his personal level or official level as well, and if he or she is open, is ready to come to you and share it without, because there's no fear. He or she knows that I will not be judged by my manager. I can talk to him or her, freely, and he will listen to me. First thing is that the manager is listening to him or her. Now, if we are able to create that kind of an environment, I think pressure will always be there of work. I mean, you will always be given multiple assignments, to work upon. You have to multitask. Ultimately, there are certain deadlines, certain KPIs which you have to, fulfill. But having said that, you are able to, as a manager, as a leader, you are able to create an environment wherein you invite open feedback about yourself as well, and you can also give the feedback, timely feedback, and that in the right manner. Again, the right man, I'll come to communication part, we were discussing it, during lunchtime, with a couple of people. If you are able to create that kind of an environment within your team, I'm sure all of you can resonate with your parents or maybe with your teachers. There are few teachers who you are willing to go to and share anything and everything. Same is the case with, there will be students, who will be willing to go to their parents and share anything and everything, positive, negative, plus, minus, whatever, right? But there will be students who will not like to go to such, to any of the professors or any of the, or their parents. Why is that so? So creating an environment where people are open to come to you, they can actually talk about it. I think this is one of the ways of managing the mental well-being, because they are able to express themselves freely with their managers, with their leaders, so they are satisfied. And of course, if the manager has created that kind of an environment, this guy is an understanding guy, and probably will empathize with the team members and probably work upon it. So that's what my perspective is. Now the communication part. I was talking to somebody during lunch, and I was saying, whenever there is a crisis, in personal life or professional life, or there is a conflict, in 99% of the cases, it is because of communication. You go back and maybe introspect and think about any situation, maybe in the past, maybe recent past as well, right? If there is a crisis, if there is a conflict, it is because of communication. How? Either it is lack of communication, no communication, over communication, the way it has been communicated was not appropriate, right? And it could be verbal and non-verbal both. It is through your gestures, body language, verbally, email, could be anything. If we are able to manage our communication well, I think the message goes through. It's the right message goes through. So again, when I'm talking about leader or manager communicating with his team, apart from giving an environment, a conducive environment, if they can come and talk to them, they have to communicate really well. A bad news or a good news, if it has been communicated in the right manner, I think it can create an impact, a positive impact on the people down the line. And whatever they learn from you, they will cascade it down the line. And as he also mentioned, Pradeep, when we talk to management, when we talk to our board of directors, we also know that what sort of mental pressure we also go through. But many times, most of the times rather, we have to absorb it at our level, and we can't maybe create that kind of a pressure or cascade it down. It's very, very difficult. But again, because of our maybe experience and exposure, we have to manage that.
As you rightly said, one key point here for the leadership is when they walk the talk, empathy. So empathy is very, very important. There was one movie, right? There was a movie, right? Something like this.
The movie, yes.
Something like that. So there was this, the person did not have a confidence to where the person could speak, right? If you remember, that was the case. So that is what it should be in the scenario of the leader or the manager, that is so empathetic. And when we talk about being sensitive here, so that they gain the confidence of the team members that yes, they come and speak. The communication and empathy.
It's just trust which you are able to build with your team members. If you are able to build that kind of a credibility, trust with your team members, I think people are going to come to you and talk about it. And that's the first step to manage the mental well-being. That's the first step you're able to mitigate it, you're able to curb it down. And as I said, to create a larger impact in the organization, if I'm taking care of an organization of 10,000 people, I would not like to go to 10,000 people. Rather, I would like to manage those 500 managers first, so that they can actually cascade it down to their respective teams and manage it.
But just a food for thought actually, there is already a very less awareness about mental health, okay? Including the managers not aware about how to deal with mental health issues. And you can imagine a person who is not aware about the mental health issue, coaching and guiding and supporting somebody who has a mental health issue. And actually, Dharamuni presented that 1 out of 6 are having mental health issue. So if you're a manager and you have a 12 report, it means that you will have at least by default 2 people will go with that. So I'm just trying to just put a food for thought that it's not simple as we think, because imagine you go to a doctor who doesn't know how to treat you and you get treatment. So somewhere the mental health issue, I think what we need to really do is that get more in, this topic has to come into more and more, into the forum, into the organization. It's talked about, it's spoken about. People have to be trained, managers have to be, thoroughly trained about it, and then only these sensitive things have to be dealt upon, because we can also cause a big, problem also for the employees, because they will deal. Managers would actually suggest something which may not be the right way to suggest it, and that can cause a bigger issue.
I have a different perspective to this. I think it's a wonderful conversation which we are having. Right? It's all about perspectives, and I think everybody learns from it. Right? This is a perspective. Like you said, that the managers may not be aware that somebody is facing this mental health problem. See, it is like I talk about 7 P's of marketing. 7 P's of market positioning, pricing, right? कभी किसी ने देखा है एक गोलगप्पा वाला है, एक गोलगप्पा वाला है, एक चाट वाला है. Now different people at different locations sell at different prices. Right? वो गोलगप्पा को 30 रुपए का भी मिलेगा, 50 का भी मिलेगा, 100 रुपए का भी मिलेगा. Same. 5 गोलगप्पा, 6 गोलगप्पा, whatever, right? Even a गोलगप्पा वाला knows कि अगर I'm from Delhi, I'll just quote that example. That if I'm selling that particular golgappa, maybe in a place like Chandni Chowk, I can only pay 30 rupees for this plate. But अगर मैं CP में बैठूंगा ना तो 60 रुपए में मिल जाएगा. He's not a well-read guy. He doesn't know the principles of marketing, but he knows कि मेरी position मेरा जो place का price क्या करने वाला है. He knows it really well. वो तो साड़ी वाला guy, जैसे वो साड़ी लगाता है ladies के ऊपर, मैडम ये तो आप ही के लिए बनी है. That's what they say, right? मैडम ये तो ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे आप ही के लिए बनी है. He's positioning it in a manner that the customer ends up buying it. He doesn't know what positioning is. He doesn't know what positioning is, but he knows how to sell it and by which, he by default he knows what positioning is. He's positioning that to a customer. So again, I'm saying when we're talking about managers and leaders may not be aware. They don't need a kind of maybe a report and said that these are out of the 25, 30 people of the 20 people in my team, 5 people are not mentally, is facing a mental problem. No. As a leader, as a manager, if you keep on behaving like a normal manager and a leader, I think the rest everything can be managed. That's what my perspective is. So it's not that he needs to have a kind of formal report as in front of him to actually work on his team members, and that to only those 5 or 10 team members. It's his job to manage the entire team.
But mental health is a science actually. Okay? There is a science. There is a way to deal with. There are chronic mental health diseases have to be dealt with. Medicines and many other. So I'm just a little bit worried about the current context. Whether it should be dealt by a manager thoroughly, or there should be a proper processes and systems and the right kind of professional.
That's the starting point. That's the starting point I'm saying. But again, as you mentioned, depending upon the gravity of the situation, the severity of the situation, of course you have to conduct those, sessions, workshops, whatever, right, to ensure that that the well-being is being taken care of.
My only worry is 600 here sitting should not be outside once when they join in 24 and 25. And वो तो manager का काम है मेरा well.
It is not a job of manager.
Organization का leadership का काम है. Dharam was very clear. Self. Dharam spoke about it. Self. So it starts with self. So even if I am a manager or leader, it starts with self. And if I am a team member, it starts with self.
Absolutely. Everything starts from self. I think it was the same thing was talked about in the first section itself, right? That when you talk about AI or when you talk about AI and your self-development, it starts from you. Then you manage. It's a collaborative approach, right? So everything starts from you as well, right? So it's not don't blame the managers and leaders. Yeah. Okay. Now coming to the next part of it. Now, how we as an organization we talk about the strategies we are making. How are we able to identify those gaps, right? Now, when it comes to the raising awareness in the organization, now what are steps as an organization we're trying to take care of create that awareness in the entire organization, and again depending upon the scale you are managing, job operations, number of people, right? How do you ensure, I would not say ensure, but how do you practice it to cascade it down the line as much as possible and make people aware about it, right?
So I'll shared again, going by the strategy that we have, it is very much in place and HR is responsible for it, of course, along with the business managers. So, when we talk about the execution part, things are there. So, there is an organization wide we have, again, mind, body, financial, career, social. So, connection. So, when we say social connection, even ESG also strategy we have. So, we go down till the society and we connect to people through our CSR activities, and that is part of this in a way. So globally we have the policy set, then there are teams, we do measure it at the Asia level, then again at the India level, at the state level. We do have measures whether what is happening and we do report to it. There are different groups which are formed, we do talk about it in different town halls, the leaders talk about it. We ensure that with such and such engagement activities, we ensure that people participate. Within this master's theory which I spoke about, all those programs needs to be there, and that is how we are managing it.
Got it? There's no easy answer for this. And like you know that it's difficult to think of. It's really difficult to build awareness because it really depends on what people want to hear at what time. I mean, I won't add to what they were said. There are processes, there are policies, there are programs. But how many people are really paying attention? How many people are really taking the ownership of, let's say, looking out if there's a mental health policy? How many employees are really going there and looking at it?
So let me rephrase it. So what sort of programs, I mean, are you trying to, implement in your respective organization? What sort of programs, initiatives which you're taking, to ensure that this specific
multifold. So, for example, in the recent past, I'll give an example in the last 3-4 months where there's a fair amount of uncertainty in the organization. So, this was anticipated by the leadership team, and they said that let's have series of practical learning sessions where we invite experts, like mental health experts, experts that talk about what should you do in terms of uncertainty. If there's a VUCA world out there, how do you deal with it? So one is these speak up sessions, as we call it, where where it's a webinar based and you can have 500 to 1,000 or even more people joining in. So that creates awareness to talk about. It's important that we understand and accept that there is a challenge or there could be issue that you may be dealing with. So that acknowledgement and what to do about it. There is a lot of reach out sessions where there's something called we've now started this mental well-being champion. So it's a well-being champion, which means every leader gets an opportunity of that 30 seconds of fame, as we say, to really go and speak up and record videos and it's posted on the internet, etc., which really helps to reach out, which encourages leaders to go and share or rather spread awareness. And at the same time, it gives employees to have a relevant face. It shouldn't be just the CXOs talking about it, but it should be leaders in your country, in your team, or maybe on your floor and stuff like that. So there's a lot of outreach out there, and at the same time, a lot of communication, like I said, which talks about the enhancement in policies or benefits that helps create awareness and tells people that if they have the problem, where to go to. So the objective is to create a safe space and an environment where people can go and, for example, use the chatbot and say, hey, I have a problem. Who do I reach out to? So the chatbot is it. So that means that there is confidentiality and there is more trust in saying that there is no human being on the other side who's noticing that I have a problem, that I want to report and I want some help. So things like that.
We have our
initiatives that you people are.
Yeah, so we do have employee assistants globally, and each country we will be having our counselors and doctors related to. So at any point of time, whether it is mental health related or physical health related or counselors, they are there. Then the different well-being sessions is what we have. Monthly the calendar would be there, quarterly the calendar would be there. It would be right from yoga sessions to sessions on financial. Again, I would go about stock market, very important. So it's not just that we are the salary is the only option. So we do not force people, but yes, we do make them aware that what are the different ways and means to manage your financial aspect and not just the tax aspect of it. So that's, and then taking them outside team outings, so these are the certain things. So there are many in detail, so certain points.
So Pradeep, I would also like you to touch upon the transgender part of it as well. That how are you trying to manage it for the other workforce as well as the LGBTQ community aspect, right? How are you doing that as well for them? Because I think there's a different initiative for those set of people versus the other.
Sure. So when we are talking about inclusion of trans people and especially able people, generally when you are in the organization, suppose you're going to be a future leader, the managers will say that why will I hire? Because I want to hire somebody with that skill set, right? And a trans person or especially able person may not have that skill set. So then, does it mean that there is it is the end of that thing, and we can never include them in the organization because the company will also challenge you as a leader, as a HR leader, or something. And why should I hire? Because when I'm hiring, I'm paying salaries, so I need the skill sets. Now you get me a trans person with an HR skill set, I will hire them. Suppose somebody challenges that. And there are no trans people with, because obviously there is a social exploitation, there is a tons of challenges they go through in their life, especially able people and many other economic challenges and many other things. So I think there are ways to manage this. In our company, what we do actually, we have a specially able internship, basically it's an internship program. So we tell the manager that let me include a specially able person or a trans person in your team as an intern or as a trainee or something, and then they go for 6 months of training. And believe me, most of our clients and organizations where we have included people into the trans people as well, especially people, after 6 months of the intensive training and everything, almost 85% of these employees have been absorbed in the organization. So are we creating those ecosystems to support and policies and processes and training to train them, because everyone has a potential to train. I'll give one example. So most of us, we manage to smile maximum 18 to 25 times in a day. We are very boring people. And if you see the specially able people, especially the people with mild retardation, they actually smile more often. They smile 60 times more than the normal human being like us. And so many of them, there is a business case to put them into the customer service area, the front desk, and so such kind of job where people like smiling faces. They don't want to see unhappy faces. Similarly, example, we wanted to hire especially able people, amputate legs and everything into certain jobs. So example, a cashier job is there. So in a cashier job, you don't need to run around. You can have a person without without limbs and legs also. And then you see that basically the discipline to come to the office, the integrity to manage cash, and many other things are far more higher. Similarly, in one of my telecom company, we started especially able people. So basically, we wanted to we wanted to include them into a call center kind of job. So we figured out, and sorry, I'll take a half a minute only for that because I think we are exceeding the time. So the business wanted. Business was not supportive because if suppose you receive a call and you are a blind person, then you will say my number is this and tell me what plan I should go for. You need to go to the computer, you need to figure out what plans are available and everything. So there is no job for visually impaired people in telecom industry. But we figured out that they can read and their memory is super high. So we got them into the outbound call center. So what an outbound call center happens? And they read the plan, the telecom plan, and then they call the customer. That would you like to opt for this plan? Because there are 5 plans they have to remember. And then they actually sell the plan. We figured out that our DSA model, which is supported acquisition model, was far more profitable because we were able to hire people, visually impaired people. The attrition was less than 0.3% actually. Nobody resigned in the last 1 year when we deployed the program. And also, most of us, when the customer bangs the phone that I don't want the product, why are you calling me? We will come with the mental health and the depression issue next day because we don't like that kind of job. The customer can really, but I have observed personally that the visually impaired people, they come with super happiness next day because this is something which is empowering to them. they love the job which they do. Nobody else gives them this opportunity, and most of them they go. In fact, in my first company, we had a specially able people working the entire factory. So there were mild retardation people who were managing the factory, and 8 hours they used to work, and we had to pull them out of the work because they love. So most of the material people they like the hyperkinetic activity, the repeated activity. So when you put them into the factory environment, they love that they get a gratification by doing the same activity again and again. But we don't like it. So what I'm trying to say is that every individual has a strength in them, and how as a leader, as future leader, we are going to optimally utilize that strength, and how do we meaningfully engage them into the business activity, which leads the life and the environment.
With that, I think it is very, very important, and it becomes imperative for the organizations to have their HR policies which can, support this kind of an ecosystem. Now, taking it you from here, now in your organizations, what sort of policy changes have you guys made, to support the mental well-being of the people, so that how do you, what sort of changes you have made to make it, employee friendly, especially for the diversified workforce you have, and otherwise as well to ensure that people are being here.
So I'll share, when you talk about the changes in the last, I would say,
Policy changes.
Yeah, policy changes, what we have included. So anniversary leave, that has been included. On the wedding anniversary, leave employees can take and they can enjoy time with the family. And also birthday leave. So which was otherwise, which was not there earlier, so it started with half day, then it is now full day. So that is again you can go and spend time with your family. So these are the I can share the example of 2 leaves. Apart from that, the maternity leave and leave related to women health. Okay, so whether it is surrogacy leave, so it's not there in my organization, but I'm sharing my experience about my previous organization. That yes, whatever the leaves which are there as per the labor laws, that is not, it is not that all the organizations have gone through it, but I'm talking about the maternity leave is mandatory, so yes, people have gone for it. But there are other leaves also, say example, surrogacy leave, or after the maternity, another 30 days of leave which you can take, and certain leaves which has been included, which makes the women employee feel that yes, we are here, and there is one organization which also gives post-maternity another 3 months of leave, which is leave without pay, and your service is there, and you can go and take it, and avail and come back. So such examples are there, which are there in the organization. And
okay, I can decide some of the policies like in Sodexo. It's an unlimited leave after maternity leave. Imagine a women employee who just delivered the baby, and within 3 months they come to the office, and then they have to take a 3-month baby as at home. How much social pressure would be there that you left the kid? There has to be the milk feeding and all those things have to be done. No crash facility. You all know that government passed the law, but there is no crash facility most of the time. So you can imagine expecting the women employee to come after 3 months, keeping the child away. So we have 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. We have flexi arrangement for women. They can come at 12 o'clock, go at 6 o'clock. So all those kind of flexi arrangements are available for, especially for women employees. Unfortunately, men are always ignored. So we have a maternity policy also for men, so nothing to get demoralized. I think men are really going through a lot of ignorance by HR policies and other things. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done on the men area also.
Nobody talks about it.
So we have a maternity policy. We have a flexi holiday. By the way, I'll just give you one interesting thing. Have you experienced an organization where you're forcefully supposed to take holiday on Diwali only, and not on Bakri or not on Guru Nanak Jayanti or maybe something? Yeah. So why organizations have a fixed holiday? We are talking about India being a secular and diverse organization. Why do we have a holiday on Holi only and Diwali only? So I think somewhere as an HR, we have to really ask the fundamental question as we asked about the retirement age. So we actually have a flexi holiday. You can pick up any holiday from the available this thing. Retirement, I'll tell you, retirement policy came from Army in 1940s, and it was adopted by GE, and then since then HR guys are printing on the appointment letter. There is still no change. Now the nutrition level is completely changed. Today 60 is maybe 45 or 30 of the previous year. I think, sir, you only got fully recovered from and you're rejuvenated, fresh. You are looking more fresher than me. So I think it's the age as a retirement. So I think what we need to do, especially on mental health and all these political processes, we need to really reform the way we are thinking. We need to ask the question to the obvious actually, that why something is happening. And when you ask the question, challenge the obvious, then the answers come to it.
Quickly, I think we are done.
New policy, the leaves I think another different.
One more topic, it's tech wala is still left. But 2 minutes I'll give you. There are no policies. I mean,
See, it's leaves, right? You talk about so there's extended paternal leave which is provided right now, apart from the day once in a month that you can take that off, but you got to claim for it. It's not a fixed off, which is really good. And there is enhancements from the work from home policy, which is still there. It's not just COVID, right? Then hybrid working, the whole kind of build a big study and all that. So though there was resistance from business and a lot of other things, they're stuck with it, which is really good. So it gives that flexibility for you to work. We are still working very hard toward the front office because you can't have relationship managers have to work 24/7, but that's in progress.
Just one last question, but I would like to just finish out in one minute. Right? How technologies, how are we using technology to actually take care of this employee that we need?
So I spoke about some of the tech element, but I just want to give you one example. So we create world-class offices, okay, beautiful offices. So if you happen to visit Mumbai, please come to our Sodexo office. We have some flexi seats, like seat which is looking around a beautiful garden, and there are some seats which are nicely decorated and everything. So what happens, using an app, you can choose a flexi seat, and you don't have to necessarily sit with your department only, and you can build the collaboration and everything. So I think any smaller step also, I'm not talking something rocket science in terms of mental health and well-being, but any kind of flexibility, the simplest flexibility itself, example, the way the employment, the offer letter generation or the joining onboarding happens, can the HR system be just 3 clicks, not more than 3 clicks? Because even getting into the system, so I'll give one simple example, like in my company, if you want to reach out to HR, you just give a missed call. And then if you get a missed call, you get called back, because there is a system, IVS system, which generates a ticket, and then the HR guy calls you back. So why you need to force employee to go to the app and call the HR person, and then the meme of I call you back and then I never came back kind of memes are going on. So the HR has to really look forward for a very simplified proposals so that employee life is eased out.
So we have one mentoring program, and that is definitely part of well-being. I would say that you can choose a mentor sitting in Timbuktu or Seychelles or Phoenix, wherever, and you can be here in any language or anyone. So there you can have a session. It's a 6 months program and 1 hour every month.
How do you use it?
So technology is enabling. I can't connect to someone sitting. So technology is enabling, right? So that is one. Employee system program definitely is one. And of course, there are many, but these 2 examples I would say in the time that you have given over.
Just 2 things. One is the chat bot, which is really good because it provides that safe space for employees to ask any questions. It's really intuitive, and it also connects you to a human being if you want to, which is really good. It's developed over a period of time, but it's really sort of an in-house tool. And the second one is what I sort of mentioned earlier, is called as Degree, which is an AI machine learning platform that actually basically checks based on your learning habits or the challenges that you're trying to solve. Whatever you, for example, searching on that tool, it provides you curated learning pathways and content that comes to you in your mailbox on your phone if you want to access to resources that you can get to, which is amazing. If you really use it, it's really amazing.
I think, rightly, as you rightly mentioned, I think in the presentation also you mentioned about certain tools, right? Some AI tools, organizations are using it. Infido is also one of them, right? Infido Amber, right, which helps you in analyzing the insights of the employee.
Thankfully, there was no AI well-being expert there, so I was glad.
Right. So I think wonderful. I mean, we had a wonderful discussion over a lot of questions. I have a couple of more questions as well, but I really.
Just one thing last, Mukul, since morning also one of our panel members, she spoke about embrace. So any change starts with understanding, awareness, then acceptance, and then embrace. So that's what this also will move on.
Yeah, that's how we concluded. We talked about the mental well-being, how are we measuring it, what are steps are we taking to create a conducive environment for the people, like how technology is going to help us out, is helping us in ensuring that we get the right insights and then work upon it. We talked about leaders, we talked about what organization is doing, right? So now the session is this floor is open now for any questions which you people may have, right? And honestly, I mean, I've been telling people, please ask questions, right? And I'm expecting intelligent questions and those questions which can give us food for thought as well, right? So we also need to learn from you. Please, yeah, you have somebody can give him a mic, please. You can ask it. Ask anyone.
I'm Ashish Marshall, and my question to you is, sorry sir. You have worked in the foreign countries and you might have encountered with the foreign workers as well, foreign employees. I just want to know that what can we learn from those people? Like we have seen the Indian scenario, but what are the things that differentiate in between the Indians, Asians, and the other Western side employees, and the things that we can have the learning from them?
Is your question like generic, saying what can we learn from them, or is it connected to well-being? I'm just clarifying.
No, it's a general one.
There's a lot that we can learn from everyone, I would say, not just people in other countries. I think the one thing that really is one thing that I think that we take away is a way of life and how they live, the culture. It's important to explore. So if I'm in any other country, or including our country, the one thing that I do is I make sure that I spend time in walking, in exploring places, meeting people, talking to them. So for me, some of my takeaways in my personal experience has been that every culture is unique. When we say of being inclusive, if you want to be a global citizen, it's important that we keep our eyes and ears open. And because the one thing that I've really learned from them is that how one can be, when I say them, I'm talking about anyone for that matter, is how can one be non-judgmental? How can I be neutral and not make a judgment just because I see someone with a particular skin color or a particular race or what have you, right? What's important is that if I'm in some other country, I sort of keep my eyes and ears open to take in as much as possible. That's what I've learned now.
Thank you.
So, hello esteemed panelists, I'm Yukti. So my question to you all is, so most of the people who actually experience mental health problems at workplace are not even aware that it is the workplace conditions that is causing them, right? They just get frustrated and they just take it out in their family and at home. So how to make them aware and how to make sure that we can help them in that aspect?
So whatever we have spoken, it sums up to that. So first is, as we were discussing on the manager being aware, manager being empathetic, understand that yes, there is some problem which is occurring. And of course there are different mechanisms also. We spoke on the survey results or the medical reports. Through that to know that yes, and that is one way from the organization side to understand. And if the team member comes, so we do, of course the manager will have one-on-one talk, or we will also help or facilitate the person, the team member, to connect to the counselor that we would be having at the organization. that is the way that either we find it out or if the person comes to us. So these are the ways.
See, there are two things. One is prevention and second is cure. Right? So, when you talk about prevention, I would like to add what Divya said. If an employee is coming to you as a manager, you are a manager, right? And your team member is coming to you. Now, your role is to prevent things. Your role is to prevent things and give him an environment and maybe disimplement it first of all, right? So that these situations should not aggravate. The intensity of the situation should not go out of hand. So that's the prevention part of it. So whosoever that employee is talking to, this is where the HR plays a very, very important role. It is not that the HR head of the company, it is your entire HR team, irrespective of the levels they are working on. Right? Just to give you a very small example, if a recruiter, generally what happens is a recruiter has recruited one of the guys, irrespective of level, senior, middle, whatever, senior, middle, junior, whatever. Whenever he or she faces problems, he or she goes to the recruiter as well. They don't come to the HR as such. Initially they face this problem, they go to the recruiter and share their thoughts, because the recruiter becomes so comfortable with that individual because they have spoken 20 times, while conducting those interviews and scheduling interviews and talking about it, right? So the individual becomes so comfortable, he talks to that particular recruiter. Now, so that's the reason I'm saying HR professionals, irrespective of the levels they are on, they are at, they should sensitize this, try and address it, and if they feel that yes, probably they need help from their seniors, they should approach them as well. So that's a part of prevention. Right? Cure is, as we are saying that we will be conducting programs, we are organizing programs in our organizations, workshops, seminars, then panel the psychotherapists as well, many a times, right? And then make them a part of certain webinars as well. That's how you can cure. Right? These are my thoughts. Maybe you want to share. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, that was my thing. Does that answer your question? Then we move on.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
I'm Devesh.
sorry. Mr. Dhar wants to add something.
So, don't see the organization in a very weak organic manner. See the organization's culture also. Try to pursue the three things: clear, correct, and common. If you are really caring your employees, you can understand what's happening in the life of India. Okay? And it is not a duty of only the HR. Because the reporting manager is the first line person who is actually interacting and understanding the issues. And they may go to the HR for to take the expert advice. Okay? Second aspect is like when you really care to your employees, start correcting what's happening, how can we help you. Last but not least, you start communicating with your employees. And that is going to help.
Thanks, Ram. Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Devesh Kohli. So I'd like to ask the panel, even after constant efforts by the organization to promote mental health by conducting various sessions, connecting personally, or giving leads and all, but we still see employees are not happy or not satisfied. So how do HR leaders look at this issue? Like, what are the next steps?
So you have been here for the past 1.5 hours.
Yes,
Can you claim that you have absorbed 100% of whatever we talked about?
almost.
How many of you can claim that?
I was attending.
We are making an effort. All of us together, we are making an effort to ensure or maybe to cascade or to pass on whatever information, whatever experience we have, or whatever we have been doing in our organization, right? And that's the only job we have, right? So as an HR professional, our job is to keep on doing the best thing possible for our employees in whatever way it is possible, right? It is and geographically located. We try and capture all the employees, irrespective of their geographical locations, irrespective of their diversity they have, right? The whole point is, if you have an intent to do something good for your employees, somewhere you will not be able to impact 100% of the people at any given point in time, right? But if you are able to impact, those who really needed it, I think that's where probably we can see that we are able to create some impact as such, right? Nobody would be able to claim 100%.
And this answer, at home, your mother would cook various kinds of food every day. But still, I was not satisfied, and same is my son not satisfied, I'm sure with you also. Because there will be certain expectation which would be there, and it is good to have that. Right.
I can just add, see all of you, if you see statistically, mental health issues are on a rise. Whatever efforts leaders are doing, HR companies are doing, and it's a very apt question that it's on a rise, whether we accept it or we don't accept it. So it means that whatever we are doing right now is not enough, okay? Which means that we need to have a newer ways to tackle with the current problem. One of the way to tackle with the current issue is making people aware that there is an issue. Once awareness happens, then the acknowledgement happens. If you acknowledge I have an issue, then you would go for a support, and then the support system will happen everything. So more and more we are going to talk about it. It is going to come on the surface. So it's not that the statistics are coming and statistics shows that there is a rise of mental health issue. Doesn't mean that earlier the issues are not there. Earlier issues are there, but they were under the carpet actually, and people are going through these challenges. So I think the only way the human race or the organizations they have to constantly evolve, do something better and better, with the use of technology, whether reaching out to the unreached population and everything. But I think once everyone is aware about it, they're self-conscious about how to deal with these issues, I think we will be able to help each other. As I gave an example earlier also, that suicide can be prevented if the person is given a guidance that please go to the EAP, Employee Assistance Program, please talk to the counselor, get your medicines, and then treat your depression or whatever, then the person is treated. So what organizations are looking at, large organizations are looking at, even if you can prevent one life to actually lose, that's the outcome of it. So we don't have to really get disheartened with things which are going haywire, but I think what we need to see is that even a smallest impact can really create a bigger thing.
See, the mental health earlier was as a taboo because it was not spoken. Now, since the more and more we talk about it, people will say that, okay, having a problem, it's okay, it's fine. So the more I talk, and the more there are mechanisms to work on it and to prevent it and to cure it, it will get better.
And secondly, it's an ongoing affair. So it's not something that, we said that, okay, we have conducted these many sessions, we have conducted these workshops, it's done. No. It's an ongoing thing, right? You have to put in efforts, continuous efforts to ensure that, that we create that kind of an environment to provide the support as much as possible. I can't say that because we have done it for 1 year now. It's an ongoing thing.
I wish HR is a vaccine which can be given to everyone. The mental health issues are resolved.
Thanks for the question. Very good question. Yeah, anyone else, please? Yeah. Can somebody come right, please?
Good evening, panel members. My name is Arvadi. My question is, we have talked about employee well-being, promoting them in workplace and how to nurture them in your workplaces. So there are a lot of organizations which are small scale in nature, and in them they have a very small team in HR department, or let's say 1 or 2 person who are managing the HR related works. So how can they promote this or go about this, what we have talked about today?
Maybe I can realistically or statistically speaking, a lot of small organizations have a higher level of engagement ratio because they have one-on-one connect and everything. And I happened to visit one of the factory where the attrition rate is less than 0.5% annually. Nobody is leaving. And then I met the compensation head. Their compa ratio is almost 52% of the market. So you can imagine, even the company is not paying good salaries, still the engagement levels are high. Basically the cohesiveness in the organization, the supporting each other is high and everything. So somewhere within the large size organization have its own unique challenges, and they need to deploy more resources to manage these complex issues as compared to smaller size organizations, and that's the reason they will have a. But I think the advantage with the smaller size organizations, they have this one-on-one connect with everyone, so that they are able to build that empathy, cohesiveness. Leaders are connected with the employees at the ground level. Leaders go on the round and they meet and greet employees, they smile at employees. So they are able to generate those kind of confidence and everything. So I think, yes, and I have rightly mentioned by you, every organization has needs to have a unique strategy to manage the mental health issue. It is not a copy-paste of a large size organization and putting it there. It has to be identified uniquely and it has to be implemented uniquely.
Adding on to what Deep said, see, we talk about MSMEs and SMEs organizations. See, these organizations are not blessed with too much of resources, right? Be it financial resources and otherwise as well. In most of such organizations, you will find very few people at the top. Maybe just the owners of the company, and it's just that they have got they don't even have middle level people. They're very supervisors who are also very junior, right? Maybe more in terms of experience, intellectual capability, and otherwise also salary they're very less salary, right? So they can't please their employees. Still, they have to get things done from these guys, right? They can't please their employees by giving them good salary, handsome salaries, or maybe benefits. But as you rightly mentioned, because it's a close-knitted affair, such organizations are so close-knitted, the owner of the organization knows the guy who's working at the ground level. Right? They're so close-knitted, so whenever they face any challenges, they go to their owner and say, Sir, मेरे को इसके लिए पैसा चाहिए, मेरे को इसके लिए काम करना है. And because there is a lot of trust in the owner, and the owner also needs these people, he go out of the way and maybe help him out where, whatever way he can. Through that connect, through that recognition, through that appreciation, pat on the back, Shabal, bahut अच्छा काम करा, that's the way they manage it, right? So again, I'm saying they would not be aware about there is something called mental health, right? In bigger organizations, we call it as mental health, we call it as wellness, but they don't know about it, right? But still they know that yes, we have to manage our people. How do I manage my people in the best possible manner? Is by appreciating it, by helping them out, because these are critical resources. If this guy will not be there, what will I do? Who will work? Right? So they take care of those people in a different manner altogether. Right? So there's no one single system, as you also mentioned. One single system which fits all the organization. It all differs from the organization to organization, the state of the company, the people, industry, everything.
Yeah, in smaller organization, what happens is that everyone knows their family better. So the connect is till that extent. So बच्चे का बर्थडे भी है, घर में पापा का एनिवर्सरी है, और I am getting engaged and then married, and I become a parent. So till that extent the connect is there. So mental well-being is, I would say, when that close-knit family is there, so it is much better.
Thank you.
And there were other 20 people.
I could include one more person. My name is Himanshu. I'm from
Bring this.
My name is Himanshu, and I'm from MD Personal. My question is to you, Pradeep sir. You see the companies want to hire the best candidate, the one who fits into the team. But why don't the companies try to get an insight into the mental fitness and the emotional intelligence during the recruitment process itself? It's a big debate actually, yes and no, because the mental health condition of the employee is a personal information of the employee. And more organizations are deploying the resources so that these matters can be kept as confidential as possible. Because I don't know whether unless we ask the candidate and candidate gives the consent that okay, you can do my mental health test or something, and then you put them into some battery of assessment and you figure out. I think it would be a crude way to hire any employee, because you're not figuring out that I need the fit test. You're not hiring a robot or something else that you want to fix. You want to have the fit test person only. I think most organizations, especially the young people like all of you, they look for the potential actually, rather than the skill set, because all of you may not have the experiences to deal with that. So they look for potential, they look for the leadership qualities in them and everything. And we need to accept the fact that the mental health issues will be there, partially, fully or whatever. And we cannot discriminate for putting that into the hiring process. Example, do you really do a HIV test before hiring an employee? It's a very personal thing to really do it. So that's the reason most organizations won't do it. It can cause a big legal issue if somebody does that. So that's not recommended. But yes, the organizations, once they are hired and if they come for the help, actually the organization figures out that there is some help is required, then the organization should have those ecosystem and support system available, policies, processes, resources available, tech tools, counselors, psychotherapists, TAP programs. Those kind of support systems should be available, because I think it's not possible to hire 100% fit candidate actually. I wish there is something which can do, and everyone will be Google the word or something else. We need to accept the employee with their agencies and their other things that can be deployed. So unless somebody has a different view, then
No, I don't have a different, I do agree to it. I'll just add a scientific point to that. How many of you have heard of psychometric tools? Right. So, I would not do marketing of any specific company, but yes, when you get the psychometric report, once when you run the psychometric tool, whether at the time of hiring or when the organization is, when the employee has joined the organization in the employee life cycle for development purpose, the report would throw certain specifics which shows that there is some kind of derailment. Okay? So, but that is not, then in that the HR person or the person who has been trained to read the report and use the report will do some intervention exercise by talking, and there is a method to that. But I go by what Pradeep said, that we don't, organizations go by mental tests, health tests, and then hire.
and even the psychometric test also, I think putting that as an assessment tool to select or reject a candidate will not be fair.
That is not at all.
And also, I'll tell you one of the reasons, and it's a debatable topic. Most of us as an Indian, we have been groomed and socialized to idealize somebody. So, in a Western culture, what happens when you go do a psychometric test? Generally, they want to portray and they want to put what is accurate, what they feel at that moment, that juncture. However, in Indian scenario, when you do a psychometric, you feel you want to correlate yourself to a Gandhiji or somebody else, and I want to be an idol of something. And most of your responses are very idealized responses. While it is a multi-billion-dollar industry in India, but still, there is a gray area around, because one of the elements for psychometric is that, you need to be transparent and active, fair in terms of putting your assessment. And many of the places, somebody, a friend is also filling up a psychometric test and seeing this kind of element. So I think, yeah, it cannot be used as an assessment criteria for sure.
See, these psychometrics, these are basically behavioral tools. Like, you can't take your final judgment on the basis of psychometric assessment. And these are all, when we say behavioral tools, they give you certain specific behaviors in a particular situation. That in this particular situation, how will you behave as an individual? So, psychometric tools helps us in identifying a potential behavior of a candidate in a particular situation. Right? So, when you, apart from the psychometric test, when you take an interview with an individual, then only you decide. Because we, as an individual, I would say, I give only 60% weighted to psychometric assessment because it gives, the potential of that individual in a particular behavior, in a particular situation. But now, what sort of IQ, EQ level he has, intelligence, common sense, fitment into my organization, cultural fit, the person whom he will be reporting to, whether he is capable, whether he is a good guy, state of my organization, I think there's lot many things to be asked, right? So psychometry is just a tool to assess them in a particular scenario and situations, not a tool to take the final call.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. There was last, I think, one more question we can take. Sorry. Yeah.
My name is Dipanshu, and my question is to Pradeep sir. So I want to ask them to promote the mental health only working in the workspace is not enough. So there could be some other problems like the family issue. So how can an organization tackle that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're bang on. See, most of the families in India now, turning from a joint family to a nuclear family, and now nuclear family to a single parent in today's context. So there are different challenges, and one of the reasons is the broken family where the mental health issues are coming up. Okay. So there cannot be negated, we cannot negate the fact that the social environment, I think the opening note itself spoke about is that it talks about the overall wholesome wellness actually, rather than looking at individual from the organized perspective. And many of us, might go with the perception at the end of the decision that it's the organization which creates mental health issues actually. That's not the true, maybe it can be completely exaggerated statement actually. So you are absolutely right. The social environment, the mental, the basically physical health of the employee. Like today, most of the companies are talking about and making people aware that the physical health and the physical wellness is equally important, because physical issues can also cause mental health issues and stress and everything. And example, if you work out and if you do other things, your positive hormones actually kicks in, and then you are more happy at workplace as compared to somebody with a very sedentary lifestyle. So yeah, all those things does impact, and that's the reason the organizations are designing policies and systems and processes which talks about overall health and well-being. So when probably we spoke, all of us spoke about the wellness initiative, we just spoke about dealing with the problem. If somebody has a issue, and then this is the way EAP systems, the other things will help. But we could not speak much about various things which organization does. Example, coaching them and guiding them about their physical well-being, mental well-being, financial well-being. There are various things in the opening note actually we spoke about. All these things culminates into individuals' lifestyle and everything. In fact, I was just reading a wonderful article on digital divide actually. So digital divide is in coming 10 years will cause a big difference in discrimination among the employees. Earlier we had a social divide, we had a caste system and other things. Now we have a digital divide. Digital divide is that people who have a high level of internet connections and better devices and better informed, and they will be able to invest into AI tools and develop themselves a little bit better, will be able to have an edge over the others. And there are a lot of other things which is going on. So I think these other newer environmental factors are also going to in fact influence our future behaviors, and the wellness will be defined maybe after 3-4 years. All of us will be discussing completely different topics around wellness. So all those things are happening in the current trend.
So thank you. Does it answer your question? Thanks, sir. And wonderful audience. I'm sorry we could not take more questions, but I hope that we have also learned from you people. I hope that we were able to give you some insights about what is happening in the organization. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks to all the dignitaries for making the session truly knowledgeable for our students with their valuable insights. And also, a thanks to all the students for making the session interactive with their thought-provoking questions. Moving further, next we have the mental health and wellness cell of IIM Amritsar synergy with us to showcase a dedicated video on the theme.
And each emotion puts some mental health. So nothing is tolerance and knowledge are still left you. A campaign that encourages everyone to do so. I think we should open up the problem to the person they are close with.
Being mindful, nothing will change in answering the value of it only that you have to tell yourself what is important and be mindful of the situation.
So I would say that the most skillful way of handling your emotions, as my early stages would be to have some kind of spiritual inner life.
So once you just let it out to somebody who can know it, it actually helps. So when you sit at it, so people say that you can actually write it down and all that. I don't know how much that is. If you just convey it to somebody else, it actually helps.
Thank you, Team Synergy, for their dedicated efforts. It was indeed insightful. Moving on, we have the launch of our institute's 5th edition of the biannual HR magazine, ECAG. For this, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Kriti Gupta, Senior Coordinator, Ritvi, the HR Club, to do the honors.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I hope that you enjoyed today's panel discussions, found them thought-provoking, and really able to take away a few learnings from them. Today, on behalf of Ritvi, the HR Club of IIM Amritsar, I stand here at the threshold of an exhilarating milestone. A glowing ember of an idea that was nurtured with dedication, passion, and relentless pursuit of knowledge has finally transformed into a beacon of thought leadership. But before we reveal the fruit of our collective labor and intellect, let us trace back to the wellspring of inspiration, the concept, the compelling narrative that shaped our mission and laid the foundation for the enlightening repository of insights that await you. ECAG, the biannual HR magazine of IIM Amritsar, took its inception in December 2020. Since its commencement, Team Ritvi has tried to keep the purpose of the magazine intact by aligning each edition with themes that portray the changing landscape of the workforce. Our theme for this edition of ECAG is the humanizing factor in HR. As the term suggests, this edition aims to shine a spotlight on the quintessential human element within the realm of human resources. We explore how HR, an integral part of every organization, can foster a work environment that doesn't just see numbers and values, but recognizes and values the unique needs, experiences, and aspirations of each employee. From inspiring interviews with industry stalwarts to insightful articles penned by our very own students, this edition brings a wealth of knowledge and perspective. ECAG 6.0 is not just a magazine. It's a dialogue about creating workplaces that are more empathetic, more supportive, and more human. Workplaces where each individual feels valued, motivated, and nurtured. It's a reminder that in the midst of technological advancements, the importance of valuing the well-being and worth of each individual cannot and should not be overlooked. So, as we delve into these pages, we invite you to reflect, engage, and hopefully reimagine the way we perceive human resources. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves as we witness yet another monumental moment where a club is launching a physical copy of their magazine in such a star-studded conclave. Adding one more feather to a bejeweled cap, Ritvi, the HR Club of IIM Amritsar, presents the 6th edition of Ekagra. I cordially invite on stage the keynote speaker of the session, Mr. Dharm Rakshit, and Dr. Vartika Datta, the faculty mentor of Ritvi, to come up on stage and unveil the magazine.
Thank you, Mr. Dharm Rakshit sir, Vartika Datta ma'am, and Ms. Kriti Gupta. We firmly believe that this magazine will add a lot of insights and values to the students of IIM Amritsar. Moving further, I would now like to invite on guest stage Mr. Shubham Bora to conclude the session.
Thank you, Saurabh. I, Shubham Bora, of the MBA 08 batch, wish a very good evening to everyone present. What an honor it has been to be a part of this delightful discussion. We got to know so many in-depth views upon the importance of cultivating a mentally healthy workplace. We have had the privilege to get first-person perspectives on how work life is affected and how it can be positively impacted by cultivating a better workplace culture. Huge appreciation to our keynote speaker, Mr. Dharm Rakshit, who made this event a success by providing us with great insights about how mental wellness is a part of total well-being. With examples of resurrection in the Yellow National Park and COVID-19 acting as a disruptor, Sir explained us the 8 parts of holistic well-being: spiritual, emotional, social, environmental, occupational, financial, intellectual, and physical. Thank you, sir, for sharing your experiences. They were utmost valuable and very insightful. We are very thankful to Mr. Mukul Mathur, who played the role of a moderator and helped us give right direction to our discussion today. He helped us to add how different employees have different problems by giving us the example of white and blue collar employees. He helped us gain information about various problems faced by various employees in various different industries. He also discussed the problems faced by the LGBTQ community in today's world. The gap identification was a great point Sir shed light upon. Mr. Pradeep Chawda helps us gain knowledge about various problems faced in the food facility industry, including the tough conditions they work in. For example, the infection control challenge in healthcare industry. Sir gave us insight upon the scraping of the retirement policy and how it impacted their organization. Inclusive culture was introduced by differential shift arrangements in their organization for the transgender community. Ms. Divya Sonali Mills gave us great insights about the problems that were faced by professionals in the semiconductor industry. Using Maslow's theory, ma'am explained us about the introduction of a program in their industry for inculcating various cultures followed in their organization. Mr. Gaurish Wagh helped us gain insights on problems faced by the people working in the financial industry. Sir explained us about the top-down strategy followed to deal with the problems with regards to mental health and how communication plays an important role in this scenario. How practical scenario learnings were used to deal with the uncertainty in their organization was one of the great insights Sir shared with us. Overall, it was a treat watching all the industry leaders share their views and empower us with knowledge. IIM Amritsar believes in actions rather than only words. On this note, I would urge everyone to understand the importance of maintaining healthy work culture by taking into perspective the various knowledge shared by our industry leaders. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Saurabh back on the dais to proceed with the event further.
Thank you, Mr. Shivam, for the wonderful conclusion. Now, before we bring down the curtain, we have a small snippet from the Media and Public Relations Cell and 50mm, the photographic club of IIM Amritsar for all of us. Once again, over to the screens.
We can succeed is a new way of all this, but I think everything is what predictably.
Speed with the help of Congress of Government, the final and implement aspect has to be there.
That will be the only implement some processes create the proposal of the employment system. So revolutionize the work time, most likely the work system. And here what's a given because unless you understand the person, the word person, the organization is inadequate, is still water than before. We are helps you to study the language easily, to simply, and you can see the output. And these are about 21, 22, we do the weekend more of new fields per year. So we have a campaign, and it's not a value proposition and culture, the thing for it. We have 30,000 plus colleagues who donated to non-profits, campaign is here today.
Thank you, team, for making such dedicated efforts towards adding eminent values to this session. Now, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Annie Jin to deliver the vote of thanks for the session.
On behalf of the Indian Institute of Management, Amritsar, I take this opportunity to propose a hearty vote of thanks to all those who have contributed to the success of today's event. At the outset, I would like to thank our keynote speaker, Dr. Dharan Rakshit sir, and all our panelists for enlightening us with your knowledge and presence. I'm sure the students will benefit from this discussion and will surely reflect upon this. Our Director, Dean of Academics, and all the faculty members have been our backbone for each step that we take forward. Our sincerest regards to each and every one of you for your support and for guiding us in the right direction. I want to also extend our gratitude to the IT team for the smooth functioning of today's event. A heartfelt gratitude to Professor Vatika Datta, the faculty anchor of Yukti, the HR Club of IIM Amritsar, for her immense guidance as always. The event would not have been a massive success without the seamless efforts of the Media and Public Relations Cell, IIM Amritsar. Immensely grateful to the Photography Club of IIM Amritsar 50mm for their never-ending support. We would also extend our gratitude to Yukti, the HR Club of IIM Amritsar, for setting a relevant context for the conclave. We also appreciate the efforts of the Placements Committee IIM Amritsar in maintaining the necessary decorum at the conclave. A huge round of applause for the Industry Interaction Cell for making this event a grand success. We are also grateful to the Secretary Conclave team for the smooth functioning of the event. Last but not the least, I thank all the students of the Indian Institute of Management Amritsar for their constant